What would you do if you had only 300 men, yet were tasked with standing against a colossal horde of hundreds of thousands, perhaps even 1,000,000 foes? Would you run? Would you surrender? Or would you fight until your very last breath? In 480 BC, at a lethal mountain pass known as the Hot Gates of Thermopylae, King Leonidas and his 300 elite Spartan warriors gave an answer that shook the ancient world to its core. Faced with a demand from the massive Persian Empire to hand over their weapons, they responded with a single, defiant phrase: "Come and take them." What truly happened within this tiny, blood-soaked gorge? Let's turn back the clock. The Persian Storm. 10 years after the bitter humiliation at Marathon, the Persian Empire had not abandoned its ambition to swallow Greece whole. This time, Xerxes the Great, son of Darius, personally launched a second invasion on a scale the world had never seen. Unlike the previous conflict, Xerxes mobilized a monstrous host. Modern historians estimate his strength between 200,000 and 300,000 warriors, though ancient accounts claimed a force of over 1,000,000 men. It was a true juggernaut, a tidal wave of steel ready to obliterate anything in its path. King Leonidas's life-or-death decision. Facing an existential threat, over 30 Greek city-states put aside their ancient feuds to forge a military alliance led by Sparta. The monumental task of anchoring the defense was thrust upon King Leonidas I. However, he commanded a mere 7,000 allied troops. Confronted by an enemy that outnumbered them dozens of times over, Leonidas knew that meeting the Persians on an open plain would be nothing short of suicide. He made a tactical masterstroke that would alter the course of history. He chose the narrow pass of Thermopylae as his battleground. Why Thermopylae? In Greek, the name means the hot gates, named for the thermal springs nearby, but strategically it was a near-perfect choke point. On one side stood sheer, impassable cliffs, on the other a treacherous drop-off into the sea. The pass was so narrow that at its tightest point, only a single chariot could pass at a time. In this confined space, the Persians could not employ their signature swarming tactics, and their cavalry, the terror of open battlefields, was rendered completely useless. At the Hot Gates, Xerxes' massive horde was forced to funnel down, stripping away their numerical advantage and forcing them into a brutal, face-to-face meat grinder against the finest warriors the world had ever known. To crush Greek resistance, Xerxes unleashed a diverse host gathered from every corner of his empire. His forces were staggering: 50,000 light infantry, 20,000 archers armed with powerful composite bows, 30,000 feared cavalry, and most notably the 10,000 Immortals, the elite Praetorian Guard of the Persian royals. However, the Persians possessed a fatal flaw in close-quarters combat. Their soldiers wore light-quilted linen armor, carried wicker shields, and relied on short-range weapons, specifically 6-foot spears and short swords. In stark contrast to the lightly armored Persians, the backbone of the defense consisted of 300 Spartans, the most elite hoplites in all of Greece. These were not conscripts, they were hardened war machines, ruthlessly trained from birth. Every Spartan was armored to the teeth, encased in bronze breastplates, protected by the iconic Corinthian helmets, and wielding a massive bronze shield called an aspis. In their right hand they gripped a formidable 8-foot spear. Alongside 7,000 allies, they locked into the legendary phalanx formation, an interlocking wall of bronze shields with a forest of spears bristling from the front, leaving no gaps for the enemy to exploit. On an open plain, a phalanx could be flanked and decimated by Persian cavalry, but at the narrow pass of Thermopylae, their flanks were absolute, shielded by vertical cliffs and the churning sea. In a head-on collision, the disparity in quality became undeniable. Volleys of Persian arrows deflected harmlessly off Spartan bronze. Meanwhile, with their superior reach, the Spartans could impale Persian troops from a distance, long before the enemy's short spears could even draw blood. At the hot gates, quality didn't just meet quantity, it decimated it. As the first day dawned, King Xerxes, brimming with confidence, ordered the assault. He believed his overwhelming numbers would swiftly crush the meager resistance. Tens of thousands of Persian infantry charged into the narrow pass of Thermopylae like moths to a flame. But waiting for them was a cold, unyielding wall of bronze. In this claustrophobic terrain, the Persians could not bring their vast numbers to bear. Every surge was met by the brutal efficiency of the Spartans. Their 8-foot spears pierced through thin linen armor with ease, while the short Persian blades struck hopelessly against the solid Greek shields. Infuriated by the slaughter of his vanguard, King Xerxes decided to play his trump card, the 10,000 Immortals. These were the crown jewels of the Persian Empire, an elite, invincible Praetorian guard that sowed terror on every battlefield they touched. Yet, at the choke point of Thermopylae, even the so-called Immortals were forced to taste death. The iron discipline and phalanx formation of King Leonidas did not yield an inch, easily repelling every frantic charge from this legendary force. By the second day, the battlefield had reached a total stalemate for the Persians. Wave after wave advanced, only to fall. The gorge began to fill with the bodies of the dead. Persian casualties skyrocketed into the tens of thousands. In the heat of the slaughter, even 2 of Xerxes' own brothers, Abrachams and Hyperanthes, perished at the tips of Greek spears. Terror began to ripple through the Persian ranks as they realized those 300 Spartans were not just men, but an unbreakable wall of steel. The decision to hold the line. Word of the betrayal reached King Leonidas, and he knew the end was inevitable. To stay was certain death for the entire Greek army. To retreat in unison meant being hunted down and slaughtered by the Persian cavalry. Faced with this impossible choice, Leonidas made a supreme sacrifice. He ordered the main allied force to retreat south, preserving their strength for the battles yet to come. The king himself, alongside his 300 elite Spartans, 700 Thespians, and 900 volunteer helots, chose to stay behind, vowing to hold the pass until their very last breath. Trapped between tens of thousands of Persian foes, the Spartan spirit did not flicker. Though reduced to a mere handful of men, Leonidas did not wait for death behind a shield wall. With a defiant roar, he led a ferocious countercharge, driving the Persians back toward the sheer cliffs. Those 300 men became 300 unstoppable blades, reaping a grim harvest and turning the pass of Thermopylae into a graveyard for the Persian invaders. The fall of Leonidas, an unyielding loyalty. After hours of superhuman resistance, even the men of steel began to succumb to their mortal wounds. Finally, King Leonidas, the proud symbol of Sparta, fell amidst the blood-soaked earth. Seeing the king down, the Persians surged forward to seize his body as a trophy of humiliation, but they had underestimated the absolute loyalty of the Spartans. The survivors rallied with their final ounce of strength, fighting like demons to protect their fallen king, repelling the Persian onslaught 3 times over. Not one man fled, not one man surrendered. The sacrifice of King Leonidas and his 300 Spartans at the hot gates was far from in vain. They performed their mission to perfection, buying the precious time needed for Athens to evacuate and for the Greek alliance to solidify its defenses. When the Persians finally marched into Athens, they found only a hollow shell of a city. More importantly, the defiance at Thermopylae ignited a wildfire of patriotism across all of Greece. Just months later, the Greek navy would shatter the Persian fleet at the Strait of Salamis, followed by a crushing final victory at the Battle of Plataea in 479 BC, forcing the Persian Empire to abandon its dreams of conquest forever. An eternal message carved in stone. The Battle of Thermopylae was brief, but it became an immortal symbol of courage, the will to die for freedom, and a masterclass in using treacherous terrain to defy the impossible. For a Spartan, fighting to the last breath for their homeland was the ultimate glory. To honor these fallen titans, the Greeks later erected a stone monument at the pass with an epitaph that still echoes through eternity. Go tell the Spartans, stranger passing by, that here, obedient to their laws, we lie. Final words. 2,500 years have passed, yet the story of the 300 Spartans remains one of the most epic sagas in military history. What is your take on this earth-shaking battle? Does King Leonidas truly stand as history's ultimate warrior king? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss our next historical deep dive. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next battle.